afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Sarah Jane Byrne and I'm the brand manager for Source Living, and I'm delighted to be here with you. I'm joined by my colleague Martin Bunny, who is our acquisitions director, who will be co-presenting with me. Together, we're going to explore a truly exciting opportunity, the Living Assisted Acquisition Programme, and how it's set to accelerate franchisee growth like never before. This program is a real game changer. Not only are we acquiring letting agencies and bringing them under the Source Living brand, but we're also able to fully fund these acquisitions. Now, having spent over 25 years in franchising, I know that firsthand access to funding is often the biggest barrier to not just entry into a franchise network, but also to growth. And we've effectively removed that obstacle completely. It's groundbreaking in our industry, and we can't wait to show you exactly how it works. So here's what to expect. I'll start by walking you through the Source Living model and explaining what makes us different. Then Martin will dive into acquisitions, the strategy, the support, and the scale of the opportunity that sits right at your fingertips. So let's get started and explore how you can grow faster, smarter, and with the full backing of Sourced behind you. So I'm just going to take this back to basics for a moment and just talk a little bit about what is franchising. Now, franchising is something I'm very passionate about. And the reason I'm passionate about franchising is because it effectively gives people with very little or even no business experience the opportunity to grow their own business, following a proven format that is stress tested. Now, I've put up some very famous names here. I'm sure all of you have enjoyed a Starbucks coffee or a Big Mac and enjoyed the same experience at any one of their establishments. The reason they can achieve that is because they're following a proven format. They're operating in exactly the same way. And that's what we've devised at Source Living as well. And I've also popped the BFA logo up there, the British Franchise Association, because we're working towards membership with the BFA. And what the BFA stand for is real ethical franchising and good franchising practice. And that's certainly something we want to be affiliated with at Source Living as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about the different types of franchise models that exist. You've got the management franchise model versus the owner-operator franchise. An owner-operator typically delivers their product or service solely. So they're working hard. They're quite often working long hours as well because they're working on their own. Management franchise is a little bit different to that. What you're doing is you're essentially managing a team and you're doing what we call driving the business. So you're working in your business as well as on it. And Source Living is a management franchise. And the other great thing about Source Living as well is that you're going to enjoy a recurring income. You're going to be looking after landlords' portfolios. And therefore, what that means is that regular income is going to build as you win more landlords. So when the time comes for you to exit your franchise, you've got what we call goodwill, the goodwill to sell on to the next incoming franchisee. So not only can you enjoy income as you're growing your franchise, you're also going to enjoy a return when you move on and sell your franchise as well. So I just want to talk a little bit about what makes us different. There are other franchise models out there. There are lettings. And we've changed what we do slightly to not only give you more income streams, but also to make us a bit unique and appeal to more people. So we do have the traditional residential lets. But aside from this, we can also manage serviced accommodation. So that's Airbnb, Booking.com, those serviced accommodation outlets. And then we've also got houses of multiple occupancy. So we can help our landlords with looking at that if that's something they want to explore. Another thing that's totally different about Source Living is that we're all about people. We're about building relationships. not just with our tenants, but with our landlords, and really being in a position to signpost them to the right place. So if they're looking to maybe grow their housing portfolio, to be able to put them in front of those buy-to-let mortgage brokers and solicitors who can help them as well. And to really look at their portfolio and sit with them and say, are you getting the best returns leaving this as a traditional let? Maybe what you think as a family home would generate more income for you if it was turned into a HMO or a house of multiple occupancy. So it's about building those relationships and looking at this more holistically. Done lots of mystery shopping and I've spoken to lots of agents, and whilst they're very helpful in delivering their fees and ensuring compliance, which is what we do at Living as Standard anyway, there is no holistic looking at it. There's no questions about, well, what are you planning to do with this apartment that you've got or whatever. It's just very much a case of, there's my fees, sign on the dotted line. And I think with the Renters' Rights Bill being passed now, we've got a real opportunity at Living to really maximise on that and make sure that we are looking after landlords, because due to that bill, they are going to need more help than ever in making sure that they are compliant with their management of properties as well. So now is a really, really good time if you are looking at becoming a lettings agent and starting your lettings agency to do that. So just a little bit about what we do, what having a franchise does. It absolutely gives you the freedom to work for yourself, but not by yourself. You're going to have the full support of HQ. And not only that, your fellow franchisees. Now, I've been a franchisee and I know how important that is, to feel like you're part of a network and you can share ideas on how to grow, best practice, and if you're experiencing challenges in your business as well, you've got your peers there to help you. So we're going to help you build your own lettings business, and it really is a one-of-a-kind package that we offer at Source Living. You're going to have more time. Time is our most precious commodity. And when you work for somebody else, you're on their payroll, you're on their clock, you're not as a franchisee. And I was certainly able to enjoy being able to go to my children's school assemblies, or if they were poorly, I was able to be at home with them because I was a franchisee when they were young. So in essence, you decide what your day looks like. And we're also going to give you the tools to unlock high earning potential and multiple income streams. So we're not just looking at the traditional lets, we are looking at service accommodation and HMOs as well. And that means there's no salary cap. You know, if you can dedicate the time and invest in marketing, then the sky really is the limit in relation to what you can earn in your business. So this is what the journey looks like once you've signed with us. We're going to literally walk you through everything and hold your hand, essentially. So we start by setting you up on our CRM. It's very comprehensive. It does everything that we need to do to open the doors on the Monday following your training. And we're also going to give you access to online training and all of the network platforms that you're going to need to run a successful lettings agency. We do have a mandatory face-to-face 3-day franchisee training induction. We're hosting one this coming Monday for our next intake. And what we're going to be doing is exploring the lettings cycle and really delving into all of the compliance that exists around lettings, just enabling our agents to be able to go out there and hit the ground running, knowing what they're doing. We're also going to teach methods in how to market the business effectively and obviously how to win those landlords. So it's not just about getting in front of them, it's about how to win the business as well. We're going to set you up with all your legal registration and systems. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you all of the partners and support and tech that we've got as well. And then we're going to get ready to launch. So we like to launch our owners certainly within 30 days of them attending induction training. And you're also going to get support with initial marketing. We have a dedicated department at Source to really help our living owners get in front of the right people on the online platforms. And we've got amazing social media, which is all centralized as well. So you're going to benefit from that, as well as our amazing website. And then this is where the journey starts. You're going to have ongoing support, not just with your systems and compliance, but also with developing your business and growing it. And we can do that via Teams, and we will be out with you face to face. So we'll be at those networking events. We'll be doing outreach with you. We'll go to landlord appointments with you, because really your success is our success. And we are really, really proud of the support that we offer to our franchise owners. So here's some of the property portals and the lettings compliance, finance support, and all of the training that's there. You have access to all of this. And if you were doing this on your own, to have access to all of this would cost you around £2,000 a month. And you're not going to be paying that with us, I can assure you. So it really is another benefit to being a franchisee within the Living Network as well. So I've got a little case study prepared. Sarah Watkins-Smith, very credible franchisee. She joined us just last year, March 2024, had literally no landlords, and she had no experience in the lettings industry. But what she did was she worked hard, she networked hard, and she basically grew her business. She achieved £40,000 turnover in her first 6 months, and it was just through following our model. So that's what hard work and dedication can do. And aside from the training that she did with us that was mandatory, she wanted to go a step further to further increase her credibility. So she completed her CLAP level 3 in property lettings and management, which was funded as part of the Source Living model as well. And she's doing really, really well, and she's really enjoying growing her lettings business. So every franchisee has a dedicated territory, and each territory covers around 40,000 households. Now, we've not just picked that figure out the sky. There is good reason for that. It gives you really, really good opportunity to grow your business and have a good sort of a good bite of it, so to speak, a good part of it all. But what it also means is that you're not spreading yourself too thinly. It's really important that you're able to market at a local level. And if you've got a huge territory, that really spreads both your resource and also your marketing spend as well. So this is why we've come up with this figure. This figure works. But having said that, we do have franchisees who want to expand. They want to be those multi-unit owners, and we're really happy to support those ambitious franchisees in doing that. So when the time is right, you can absolutely look at maybe your neighbouring territory and work into that as well. However, they are exclusive territories. So once they're gone, once someone's operating in them, they are gone. So if you are serious about joining us, then you do need to act on that and give us some postcodes so that we can have a look at mapping that out for you and seeing what your territory could look like. We do have a selection criteria. We want really good franchisees who are going to come in. Doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have business experience. You absolutely don't need to have business experience, but what we want is passionate people who are willing to commit the time to grow in this business and this brand. You do need to be personable. You're going to be out there talking to landlords, helping tenants, and you're going to be networking as well. So it's really successful people in property are very personable people, and certainly Sarah, who I showcased earlier, is very well known in the Taunton area. She's at every networking event, and people know her as the trusted lettings agent to go to. Okay, we also have access to Sourced Enterprise, which is a business bank account. So we thought of everything at Sourced, and we've got a banking license. Now, I don't know if any of you sat here have ever tried to open a business account, but let me tell you, I've worked in other franchise networks, and it is a very timely and can be a challenging thing to do. It can feel like you have to jump through a lot of hoops just to open your business account, and it can really delay you launching your business as well. But we thought of that. we're going to do that for you. And it also comes with a built-in bookkeeping tool as well, meaning that all the stuff required for HMRC filing is done for you, which is absolutely amazing. We can provide all your confirmation statements and all the legal documentation, such as your shareholder agreements and articles. So not only is this going to remove a barrier, but it's going to save you lots of time as well. 120 hours. Certainly when I was a franchisee, I looked after all my own bookkeeping, and it did take time. We're going to release that time to you back so that you can go out and drive the growth in your business. And of course, with that comes a saving in accountancy costs. That's quite a conservative figure. That I've known people pay a lot more than that to file the year-end accounts and deal with PAYE and everything else that goes into running a business as well. So there's also that saving, and also up to 30% savings on tax. So as I say, we will set you up on all of that. The other thing that we will do as well is we will sort out incorporating your company for you, as well as your VAT registration, which again is quite challenging if you've never done it before. Lots of things to fill out online. We will do all of that for you, because it's really important to us that our owners are launched quickly and in the right way and as stress-free as possible too. And then I've just put some of the key benefits of joining Sourced. I think the most important thing though here is, along with everything that I've mentioned, it really is the ongoing support and the fact that we have our assisted acquisitions program, which is really going to accelerate our franchisees' growth. And certainly Martin, who's joined me, he's worked for another leading lettings network, and he secured over 142 acquisitions during his tenure there. So very credible, knows exactly what he's doing in this, and that's what he's looking to do to help our Source Living owners as well. So how do you join? Well, you need to go on a due diligence journey. We can take you through that, and there is some investment initially. So there's the franchise joining fee, which is $4,999 plus VAT. And there's two ways in which you can do this. You can sign either a 5-year franchise agreement or a 10-year franchise agreement. And then following that is the monthly fee of $255 plus VAT on 5-year, or $165 plus VAT on 10 years. The reason we've structured the joining fee in this way is, again, to remove funding or capital as a barrier. Sometimes really credible people who could grow an amazing franchise business just can't even enter because they just haven't got the money. So we've tried to structure this in a way that makes it open to more people. And then on top of that is the MSF, or the monthly service fee, which is calculated on your net monthly income. So you only pay it as you start trading, and that's at 15% there as well. So now's the time for me to hand over to Martin. I know this is what you're all here for. You're all here to hear about this exciting acquisition opportunity. So over to you, Martin.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you all. I think the basic question is probably should answer first. I'm not to tell you the psychic, but what is an acquisition? An acquisition is when one company buys another company. In simple terms, just acquiring existing letting agencies and potentially sales agencies into the Source Living network. So, and I'm around to help you do that and give you the benefit of my experience in the ways, means of making it work properly. So an acquisition, we basically want to buy the competition, which is obviously has several benefits. One, it increases the size of your business and also takes away a competitor. So what's happening in the market at the minute, and how do we take advantage of it? Well, Sarah mentioned earlier the Rent Reform Act, which has been passed, and the advent of the Rent Reform Act and the implementation of it has made fear and regulated industry of what's to come. And the smaller businesses who are in this industry have been worried about it for some time. They have been selling and continue to sell, because compliance into this rent reform requirements, I think, on average, is going to cost a business around about £30,000 in learning and change alone. So they have to meet the competitive standards that are required by that this particular act and others that have been in past previously and are to come, certainly in the way of training and so forth. And there's more regulation on the way, as I say. So can you change the screen, Sarah? The sector is changing into a professional service, and quite rightly so. And that's the intention of the Rent Reform Act and other industry changes that have happened in previously and are to come. And the question to all small and independent agencies and some larger ones is, can they maintain those standards? So what's happening in the market? There's a bit of turmoil, there's a bit of consolidation. Consolidation is good for us because it gives us opportunity. Turn the screen. As soon as you join the program, I call it my assisted acquisitions program. So as soon as you become a franchisee, contact me, Sarah, or any of the team and say, I'd like to join the assisted acquisitions program. And basically that's where we help you find, identify, negotiate, and complete on an acquisitions deal in the right way. So I hope that most of you will take advantage of that opportunity when you join us, because as I'm about to explain, it's the fastest way to grow your business. So as soon as join the program, we'll research your territory beyond and contacting every independent sales and lettings business and asking them in words, do you want to sell your business? In a crafted way. It's not as simple as that. We are a bit more polite than that, but we will craft the way that we approach them. Do research to make sure we're approaching the right people and we're saying the right words. If they respond positively, we'll engage with them under a non-disclosure agreement and gather information so we can assess the suitability. And that's the key starting point of any acquisition, finding out what the opportunity is about, finding details about its suitability for what we want to do. Turn the screen. What we want to do is find the required target acquisition to provide an acceptable profit margin, including all overheads, MSF, capital and interest for a period of 5 years, which is usually the loan term that people when raising money will need to accommodate. That's because that's the length of the franchise agreement, which is then renewable. And after 5 years, we hope that during that time, having made a profit with all these overheads and capital, the entire asset will be owned by the purchaser. So that's my hurdle rate. So just to say that once again, for 5 years, any acquisition will still need to make a profit with all these overheads included. And if my projection says that, it qualifies and I'll put it to you for a purchase opportunity. That's my requirement to go forward, if you like. Turn the screen. How long does it take? It usually takes 3 to 6 months from signing heads of terms. Heads of terms is a document that I will produce for you if you want me to, which basically is an agreement between the buyer and seller that we can put forward to the legal team to turn into what's called a sale and purchase agreement, or an SPA, or an asset sale and purchase agreement in some cases. The heads of terms are basic terms that I know in the market and are pretty well standard, and will be encompassed in our offer for the business in the first place. So having made an offer for the business and it's been accepted, I'll translate that into heads of terms that both sides can sign, so buyer and seller, so that we can put forward to lawyers and lawyers can craft their sale and purchase agreement as a result. The reason I recommend you don't get lawyers to provide heads of terms, because if you follow what I just said, they'll just repeat the exercise in producing the sale and purchase agreement with some further details to go with it. So why pay a lawyer to do something twice? I do tell that to people a lot of times. Some of them don't take notice, particularly sellers, and they end up with a large bill that they don't necessarily need. So the expertise that I hope to give you will avoid that situation. There may be commercial property considerations which hold things up a little bit. That is the lease to the property. It may need to be assigned. We need to make sure the lease is under the 1954 Act, so that we can make sure that after the lease expires, you can renew it and carry on with your business in a reasonable time. There's things like that that complicate the process. And I've dealt with, I don't know how many leases in my life. I've been doing it 35 years. So I'll help you with all the issues of that and make sure that we don't fall foul of any such problems. We do require to use a specialist franchise lawyer. The reason for that, asking you to do that is because the lawyer in the high street or the usual commercial lawyer doesn't necessarily understand franchising. And very often when they come to the franchise agreement question, they go to another lawyer who's a franchise lawyer and ask him for advice, which puts you all pill up. So we've got a fairly good panel of people who are au fait with a franchise agreement, and we recommend that you use those to transact the business. And in the first instance, we will help the acquisitions team prepare their heads of terms to present to the legal advisors. As I said earlier, that's a quite important stage in the proceedings. It kind of commits you to going forward. Once you sign the heads of terms, you may be committed to legal fees because we'll be putting them to a lawyer. The process takes about 3 to 6 months from the signing of those heads of terms. Unfortunately, they can take 2 weeks to agree, they can take 2 months to agree, but at least we know a starting point and what sort of timescale we're looking at. Turn the page. How do we deal with it? Okay, so it's going bowling into buying anything is pretty unwise. So we need to make sure it's a viable option in the first place. The opportunity is assessed to ensure it's a viable option. So I will do that for you, should you wish me to do so, by looking at the questionnaire, which I will send out to any seller to be completed. I'll be asking for 3 years of their accounts, if indeed they are a limited company, or management accounts if they're not. That way I can assess the stability and the viability of the business if we wind into all the overheads that they currently have, which won't be overheads that won't be carried forward, and also things like the MSF fees and so on that come from franchising. The franchisee network is notified of the viable option, and anybody interested will contact me or Sarah and say, yes, I'd like to look at that. And it happening today, it's happened yesterday, and it happened day in, day out at the moment, I'm pleased to say. Then we engage with the interested parties, and the acquisition process document is sent to you so you can understand the process that I'm about to go through or we're about to journey together. And it is a bit of a journey. Many of the people I've bought businesses for over the years, and as Sarah says, I've bought quite a lot of them, still friends of mine, and it can be an interesting process to go through together and get to know each other. So the process document is sent to you so you can see the milestones that need to be go through to get to our objective. I'll also discuss an acquisition plan with you. That will be going through a spreadsheet that I produced, which shows the viability and how I arrived at it and the projected income for the next 5 years or longer. And I'll explain to you how I intend to approach it and why, the offer price, why it's the offer price, the fallback position, if there is one, and any other elements that I think are important for you to know, such as 2P, as I said earlier, leases and so forth. All those things we'll go through to make sure we cover every base we need to get through this process. So then we're having done all that, you and I and Sarah and hopefully any advisors of yours, accountants and so forth, will agree that we're committed to go forward, and we'll sign the heads of terms, and then we're in make an offer and sign the heads of terms, sorry, so that we can know what the next stage is and move on to our new objective. Turn the page, please. So how do we decide? Your information sheets include our process document and questionnaire. Presumably they are circulated or available, Sarah?
Yes.
They are or not?
Yes. Sorry, Martin. Yes.
They are. We ask questions to gather information from a potential seller. As I said, I've got a questionnaire which I've relied upon for lots and lots of years, and they ask the questions that I need to know. It digs into the deep dive of the business, and so it gives me clues to see what the viability is. Things like arrears, things like how many landlords own more than 5 properties, how many landlords live abroad, what the average rent fee is, and I'll compare that to the locale, which I already know, and so on. And answers to all those questions may seem pretty innocent to them, but they give me a lot of clues as to the viability and the wisdom of going forward with the business. We will not proceed until we feel we may add value to the buyer. And any of you guys are in the property franchise already or you're been in property will know there's a golden rule in development. It should add value at the end of the day. It's not a nice to do thing. So I need to prove to you that the potential business acquisition is going to add value to you as a business. And I do that by finding all the information, collating it in together and producing a document which you can look at and decide whether it's for you. Turn the page. Now, Sarah mentioned that I've been around the franchise business for a while, and I have. And I've also been around property development, commercial, I admit, in the hospitality world for 30 odd years. And in the franchising world, I haven't seen an opportunity to join a franchise with the elements that Source Living has anywhere. And I know a lot of them. And so the financial support is one of those key elements. Once we've applied a process to assess whether the acquisition will add significant value, we'll work out with the franchise to identify a viable funding structure. And the amazing thing about Sourced is they will provide up to 100% lending, which you might find outside of Sourced in the general market, but it's going to cost you serious money in interest. And Sourced give you a reasonable rate of interest that they ask for, and they'll support 100% acquisition to their franchisees. And I think that's amazing, given that we are also at the same time checking the viability of the business. So borrowing the money works within the model and you have access to 100% funding. It's an amazing opportunity. And if you're thinking of going into the lettings and sales franchising world, you won't find it anywhere else to my knowledge, unless you go to the open market for lending. And the interest rate will probably snooker any chance you've got of acquiring anything. The lending levels that if you're borrowing up to 100%, it will have a bearing on the potential viability of the target business. Not all businesses will stand lending levels of 100%. So it could be sometimes we need to ask you to be prepared to put a degree of your own funding or working capital in. I'll work out the numbers, and in our preview discussion, which I mentioned earlier, I'll explain why or you can borrow an amount of money or not. And then we can come to an agreement as to which way we move forward in our planning. The financial support is an amazing opportunity. So if you're in a situation where you're looking at a sourced franchise, Source Living has got to be a major consideration. Turn the page. So acquisitions, an instant growth portfolio, in an organic sales and lettings management of a business, your core interest is getting new landlords, new tenants. I realise that on a day-to-day basis. But if you buy an acquisition, the competition, and we do it in a viable way I've just explained, and you can turbocharge your business within 6 months. You could potentially buy 100, 200, 300 landlords, which would take you years to do in an organic fashion. And if the business makes sense, and it's an investment that shows a profit as you go forward and will not sink your business, please give it serious consideration. It can be fully funded if it works and keeps it viable. And it'll accelerate your revenue from day one. By the way, it'll also accelerate your work because having 300 new landlords overnight can be interesting. Enhance credibility through established relationships. What I mean by that is, I don't know what town you all live in, but I live in a town in the Midlands, and I know who's doing well, which lettings or sales agents are doing well in the town, just by looking at the boards that appear all over town. If you see the same boards 90% of the time, you get the impression that guy knows what he's doing. And when you buy another business and you overnight inherit 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 new boards around your town, people will start to notice what you're doing. And when they're thinking about using a lettings or estate agent, then I know what that's going to be the first one on their mind, the one that sticks in their mind every time they see the advert on the sale board. So it enhances your credibility tremendously. And it will build a valuable asset you can scale or sell. So Sarah mentioned earlier, after years of owning your franchise, you may wish to retire, go to the Seychelles, do what you've always dreamed of doing or whatever, and sell your business. And buying a lettings portfolio and adding capital value in which is the managed portfolio, is a serious way of growing capital value and scaling up your business and the value, essential value, exit value of your business. So we'll give you full training and support to get a head start, so that it's a supported situation, so that when you buy a business, there are considerations. I just said, if you take on 200 or 300 landlords overnight or properties overnight, they need to be integrated into your business. We've got a great team, transition team, who will help you do all those things during and after your acquisition. So fully funded, fully supported, with a great amount of skill. I think it's a proposition you should seriously consider. Turn the page. So I'm here to answer any questions with Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if people just want to stick it in the chat box, that's probably easiest, and then we can answer it. But that was really comprehensive. Thank you, Martin. It really is unique, this opportunity, isn't it? And I think what makes it unique is the fact that we've got investors at Sourced who believe in this model and are willing to invest their money to help our franchisees to grow. And it's just, I can't stress it enough. You just don't hear about this in franchising. You really do have to kind of jump through those hoops, don't you, Martin, with, you know, high street borrowing, or, you know, even if it's government backed and stuff. When I bought my franchise way back in 2001, I did it with a DTI backed loan, and that was just to secure my license. I wasn't buying, well, I bought a little bit of goodwill, but it wasn't very much at all. And it really did feel like I had to jump through hoops, and it took months and months and months. This is really accelerating that, isn't it, Martin? It is really unique.
Well, I think it shows that the franchisor is prepared to invest in the franchisees. They believe in them. They're going to put the money, they put the money where their mouth is. They give them terms that no one else will give them. And I can tell you other franchises are going the other way. You know, they're reluctant to invest in the franchises or support acquisition. So this really shows that the franchisor, i.e. Sourced Living, care about the future of the franchisees. And believe me, having been around the block with franchising, that's the key to great franchise networks. It's franchisors that work hand in hand and work together with the franchisees, and proven it by, in this case, by their investment and the support team.
Absolutely, 100%. We have got some questions, Martin.
Okay.
So how's all this acquisition? Does it require any funding? Well, yes, it does require funding, but we can help with that. In answer
not
to that.
Not always. If you have deep pockets, you don't need funding. But you know, I'll always help to assess that by looking at your position, at the proposition, and working together to find a solution.
Yeah. And then we've got, when acquiring a lettings business, can I keep the current staff or not? I'll let you answer that, Martin.
The current staff that you're in the business that you're acquiring?
Yeah.
You have to. You don't have a choice. Yeah, no, that's probably a factor that I may have touched on, and I said the words earlier. I don't know if everybody understands it. It's called 2P, the Transfer of Undertaking of Persons Employed Act 2006. You're required by law in an asset purchase to give the people to transfer the business and the people that work on that business. And obviously you're buying a limited company, which is the shares of the business, and you're owning the company as if it was yours from the day before. Then those people have staff contracts with that limited company, and they endure. So yes, and as you might imagine, taking the staff who know every landlord and tenant and know every single cog and wheel in the business, it's a pretty big advantage to do so.
Absolutely. And then I've got a question here about funding being available for renovations. That's actually something that Sourced Property can help you with. It's someone by the name of Just Shutters. It's purely lettings agencies that we're looking to acquire under the Sourced Living umbrella. But there is also our sister franchise model, Sourced Property, and they can certainly have a chat with you about that. So yeah, if you reach out to us, I'm going to put my email address at the end, all of our details. I'll be able to point you in the right direction there on that question. And then I've had another person say, Ben, it is Ben Scarborough saying, can I get a copy of the slides and further details? I joined a bit late. What I'd recommend, Ben, is booking in a call with me and I'll be able to walk you through it again and just do it one-to-one and just talk you through the whole presentation again. I'm more than happy to do that. And then we've got a question, how do you make money from this? Does the business charge a fee from landlords? Is it monthly or yearly? So essentially you're managing properties for landlords and with that comes a fee. And as Martin mentioned, you're going to be buying a portfolio of, I don't know, anything upwards of 50, maybe 200, 300 sort of properties where you're getting a management fee every month. So that's how you're making your money. But Martin is really careful to delve into the numbers at the due diligence stage to make sure it's viable. And in fact, Martin, you won't put anything in front of the network until you've done that, will you?
No, it has to be viable for me to put it forward as a proposition. There are a few variables. That depends on if you're borrowing 100% or not. So I might have to ask you a few questions. But generally, the agreement to go forward is based on the viability and the fact that we both believe that it will work.
Yeah, absolutely. And then somebody said they're a bit confused about all the different facets Source have, and I totally understand that. We've got Source Property, Source Living, and Sourced Acquisitions. Are they all different? I'm going to simplify this. We've got a real ecosystem at Sourced, and we have obviously Source Living, which is lettings. Acquisitions is part of that. What that means is when you join Source Living as a franchisee, you have access to our acquisitions program. It's only Source Living franchisees that have access to that. And in very basic speak, that means we can buy a competitor, an independent lettings agency, and bring it under the Source Living umbrella, which is going to accelerate your growth from maybe 1 or 2 landlords to having maybe over 200 landlords once that acquisition is complete. Source Property is a different franchise model completely. It's our sister company. It's got nothing to do with living. Obviously, there is some synergy there because we've got franchisees and Source Property who, for example, have just completed on, say, refurbing a HMO as an example. And therefore, there's a landlord that wants to obviously get tenants in so they can refer to Source Living. We've got this real ecosystem, as I say, but it is a completely different franchise model. Hopefully that answers the question. Would the business need a team and premises, or is a single director enough? Well, that depends on the acquisition, doesn't it, Martin? On the size of it.
Yeah, I think if you're going to buy an acquisition, you would usually look for it to have some kind of team there already, unless it's a relatively small acquisition, it's something that can be managed by us, say a husband and wife team. We usually yardstick in the business that one property manager can run 150 lettings. So it could be that you would buy a portfolio alone, but you would need experience in and the training to do so. So I think if it's anything over sort of 100, 150 properties, then you would certainly need a team to support you.
100%, yeah. And again, you know, you've got support from HQ as well. We'll be able to help you with your staffing structure and making sure that you are running efficiently, but not that you're so stretched that you can't deliver great service. Next question, could we have the business in our own area? Absolutely. If that postcoded area is free, then yes, but it's like I said earlier in the presentation, the areas are exclusive, which means that once a Source Living franchise owner has a postcode territory, no other Source Living franchise owner can have that, whilst that owner remains under agreement with us. So if you are serious about doing this, then you do need to act and just check that your area is available. Of course, if it's not, then it might be that we can get something nearby for you. So, you know, don't let that deter you. Then we've got, is there any assistance in raising the initial investment of 4,999 plus VAT? I've got someone who's fully experienced in lettings but doesn't have funds at the moment. I'm really excited to say yes. What I can do is we can put you in front of Catherine Shelmadine, who is our franchise recruitment support, who can walk you through that process. But yes, we can help you with that as well. Right, let me just see what else we've got. Could I get details of how to set up the office or how to get the funding to build the office? Yes, we can absolutely help you with that. What I would recommend is that you book in a discovery call with Catherine Shalmadine. It's a slightly less high level presentation and tells you more about the next steps as well. And she'll really support you on that due diligence. So you can book in with her. And in fact, what I'm going to do is just change the slide over now so people can start making a note of those all important email addresses as well. So acquisition is not buy to let. No, we are essentially purchasing a lettings agency. I hope that answers that. So essentially, we're purchasing an existing business and bringing it under the Source Living umbrella for that particular franchisee. So how it works is that franchisee will secure the funding via us, and then that's their asset then to grow upon. And obviously, you pay that loan back over 5 years, and then that's yours then. Hope that answers that question. What else have we got? How much do we need to set up the business? Well, we covered that. So to join is 4,999 plus VAT. And then obviously you have access to Martin and looking at the assisted acquisition program. And it's also sensible to say that you will need some working capital as well. It's like any business, you need to be able to invest in marketing. And it might be that if you want to dedicate 100% of the time to the business as well, what do you need to live? You know, obviously we don't, this is another franchise model. When you start with us before the acquisition sort of comes into play, you can dedicate just, you know, a small portion of time to your business. But it's like I said earlier in the presentation, the more time you can dedicate to this, then the better you're going to grow. And certainly that was what Sarah was able to do as well. Can you also acquire an estate agency? So we are looking to acquire lettings agencies, and with some of those comes estate agency as well. So that is being included in the model, but it's not purely our focus. We want lettings to be our focus. And the reason we want lettings to be our focus is because of that regular recurring income. It really is something that you can build upon. Whereas if you're just an estate agency model, you know, sort of selling the property or whatever, and then you're getting paid at the end of that. There's no regular recurring income. It's a very hard model, isn't it, Martin, to kind of make your money in?
Yeah, essentially, if you're buying a sole sales estate agency, it doesn't actually have any value, which is a strange thing for me to say. But if you imagine a managed portfolio with 50, 100 properties, that has a regular contracted income, and that's an investable income stream. An estate agency doesn't. You know, once the person's bought a house, they're gone. On average, you'll never see them for 7 years. So how do you value what the residual value of the business is? And basically, the only value there is maybe some value in the brand, but as it's going to be a Source Living franchise, that's limited. And the pipeline of businesses that are sold subject to contract already, and perhaps a portion of the stock list, which we can apportion a value to. But it's nothing like the value of a managed portfolio of lettings or something like that. So an estate agency, the problematical thing about it is it doesn't have any capital value to speak of. And that's why you rarely see transactions with just estate agencies, unless they're making some kind of enormous profit and they've been there for years and somebody's prepared to buy the turnover and profit numbers. So estate agency really is an interesting acquisition proposition, and it's something that you need to think very carefully about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. So somebody's put, I just need 5k and monthly fees, and then we'll help them to buy the business. Well, yeah, that's the entry point. And what I would recommend that you do if you're serious about thinking about this opportunity is jumping in on a call with Catherine Shalmadine. She's very experienced. She comes from estate agents and lettings agency background, and it's her job to support our owners on what we call due diligence. So anybody inquiring about a franchise has to go through a due diligence process. And that's where we talk to you about the model and where we explain what capital is needed to get involved and what the expectation is when you are a franchisee, and so on and so forth. There's absolutely no obligation to continue down that due diligence journey, but I would highly recommend reaching out to her and booking in what we call a discovery call. And it's where she'll present to you, it takes about an hour, that's all, the full opportunity and what Source Living could do for you as a franchisee if you were to join us. So I would really recommend that you get in touch with Catherine. And I've also put mine and Martin's details up there. Feel free to reach out to us directly as well. I think we fielded all of that, Martin. Lots of questions. Thank you for that. Thank you very much indeed. Well, hopefully that's been, I hope that everyone's excited by this as much as we are. As I say, we're wanting to attract really, really credible people who are passionate about growing a business for themselves with our support. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you and be able to continue the dialogue following this webinar. So I think as there's no more questions, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Martin, for your time today. I appreciate you jumping on and helping me with this. And yeah, we look forward to hopefully hearing from some more of you and just continuing the dialogue going forwards. Thanks again, and bye for now.